That's everyone that was in the waiting room now added. Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining. We have got a number of people on this call, a mix of Levy peers, and this is one of the first meetings that we've done as an opportunity to meet the board, as well as the team, so that you can see the faces behind the running of Go Forth Stirling bid. And my plan is to make a quick presentation to you all, just about really what happens, what the next steps are of ballot, just some decisions that we've taken based on your feedback to date, and then open up to a Q&A. You are welcome to ask anyone any questions. If you've got any queries or anything you want to put specifically to any of the board members, please feel free at the end of the meeting. Okie dokie, right, I'll just go on and I will share screen straight off. 2 seconds. Right, everyone see my screen? Cami, you're the first camera I have. Can you give me a nod if you can see it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okie dokie, thanks very much for joining everybody. This is our next steps meeting. I am sure, and I certainly hope you are all aware that we are in year 5 of 5 in our first Go Forth Stirling bid term. So looking ahead to 2022 to 2027 would be our second term, should we be successful in the ballot that will be happening very soon. So, agenda for tonight, I will hand you over in a second to our chair, David Black, just to give you a quick welcome. Then we'll do just a really quick recap of who's on the board and who the team is, should you not know any of us, and then a recap of what is a bid, any proposed changes to the bids, and frequently asked questions. We're getting quite a few questions through just now, so we're having this meeting just to make sure that everyone is just totally clear on what the processes are, what it means, then what this next stage is for us to proceed to term 2, and then a bit of feedback that we have received from everyone that's completed their survey or one-to-one engagements, and just to make sure that we really are on the right track for our proposed priorities that we're putting together for the next term. We are in the middle of putting together our business plan and our proposal document to submit to the Scottish Government. So any feedback that you have on this meeting, or anything that we suggest as our priorities, I'd love to hear from you either tonight or any other way at all. Okay, so over to you, David.
Okay, thanks, Danielle. Welcome along, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name's David Black. My day job, I work in the IT department at the university. The treasurer up at Stirling Boys Club Community Hall. I also chair Stirling City Heritage Trust, and probably get my finger in too many pies around Stirling, have been for too many years. I've been involved with the bid right from the start, as has Cami, who's here, and Andrew Mitchell, who hasn't been able to make it yet tonight. Right from the very start, at first I didn't know what a bid was. It was all explained to me. I was invited along originally as a community representative, not having a business. We wanted to include as many folk as we could. The idea being the people who know Stirling best are the people who work here, live here, run businesses here. And we want to get as many ideas as we can. I'm delighted to say the board has grown in the last couple of years. We've got some new blood in, as well as old fogies. And I hope that's going to continue as time goes on. We want your input, we want your knowledge, we want your skills, your ideas, and hopefully you're going to like a lot of what you hear tonight from Danielle and might want to get involved as well. But certainly any questions, put them to us. If we can't answer them tonight, we will get back to you. And without further ado, I'll hand you back to Danielle.
Thank you, David. Okay, so anyone that hasn't met us to date, myself, I'm Danielle. I am leading projects for Go Forth Stirling and have done for the last 2 years.
Danielle, your audio keeps dropping out.
Is it dropping out?
I
Goodness.
don't know if there's anything you can adjust.
Great timing tonight. Managed to deal with making sure there's no dogs barking and things. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, so so I have been leading the team for the last 2 years through what has been a little bit of a challenge with the global pandemic, and especially for Stirling. I certainly don't need to preach to any of you on how challenging it's been for every single business in the city centre. Also in our team, we have Go Forth Bid Ambassadors. That's a new addition to the team, thanks to some additional funding that we got from Scotland's Towns Partnership last year. So I've just put a picture there of the Bid Ambassador team. We now currently only have 2, and we're currently recruiting a 3rd. But Michelle and Gail, you hopefully will see in and around the town in their Go Forth branded jackets. And the purpose of the ambassadors is really to be there to engage with the businesses, communicate with you, be there to report any issues. Other part of their role is physically reporting on the street, defects, issues, anything at all, to try and keep the standards of our city centre as high as possible. And then the 3rd part of the role is, the very fact that the back of their jackets state, here to help, friendly face for the city centre, to promote the city centre, to help with wayfinding. It's just said my internet connection is unstable, so hopefully that is, you can all hear me fine. But yeah, so basically the ambassadors are there. If you need them, have a chat with them, flag them down, and anything that they can do to help yourselves, or even just, visitors to the city centre, that's really what they're there for. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't already know, Go Forth was formed in 2017. So any bid runs for a 5-year term. The current bid term that we are in ran from the 1st of September 2017 until the 31st of August this year. That's the end date of our first 5 years. The principal aim of any bid is to deliver projects and services that improve the trading environment. So that's to the benefit of businesses, customers and visitors, and of course to promote footfall as much as possible. So it is our intention to hold a renewal ballot this year, May 26th till July 7th. And that will then, obviously, if we get a yes vote, that will then secure us to do another 5 years of projects and support for Stirling City Centre. So should we get a yes vote by the 7th of July, our new term for term 2 will start on the 1st of September of this year. So what do you pay for, and what is the contribution to Go Forth to a business improvement district? I won't go into the history and why bids are positive and where they are around the world. There's literally thousands around the world now, but they started in the 60s over in Canada. So Go Forth charges 1.25% of rateable value, non-domestic rateable value. The average charge for UK bids is about 1.6 to 1.8%. However, we feel that we can deliver our vast amount of projects and support that we do at only charging 1.25%. So currently there is a threshold for levy contribution. So that's £10,000. So we only charge or take a contribution to businesses that are over £10,000 rateable value. Those below still benefit from being in a Stirling city centre with a bid, and anything that we are doing to help them out. However, they don't contribute to the bid, and therefore they do not have a vote and have full benefits, if you like. So through the pandemic, obviously it was a hugely challenging time. I only joined the team actually a week before lockdowns were announced, which is a bit of a shocker. So what we did in that time, we are currently, of the 327 bids in the UK, we are still the only bid that made any reduction to charging during that pandemic period. The idea was, the bid company's still there, they're still providing support, if not a lot more, in a pandemic response. However, we had contingency funds there, and we altered our projects and went out hunting for additional external funding to bridge that gap and to make sure that our businesses, our members, benefited from reduced levy bills. So in the first 6 months of the pandemic, we basically cut all income. So we just, wiped out half of levy bills for that first 6 months. And then for the following year, we raised the threshold to 51,000 rateable value and gave 100% relief to all what we deemed as the smaller businesses below £51,000, which is about half of our total membership, therefore, half of our total income. So what we've done in that is we then went out and bridged that gap to make sure we could still deliver all the projects that we said we were going to do, if not more. But we're still quite pleased with ourselves, having managed to conserve cash very well, do what we could to deliver all these things, and really benefit our businesses in Stirling, that other bids were not able to do, by reflecting that in the billing. In the picture on the right as well, you can see in purple is what the levy zone is, and the levy zone, the Stirling bid city centre zone, this year we're proposing for the next 5-year term that it will be slightly extended to include a few more streets, to include Cowan Street, to include Albert Place, etc., because we feel that those businesses in those areas are still city centre, and the city centre does not begin only when you hit Barnton Street, etc. So all the positive things that we do or patrol or report upon or invest in, we think should actually have a better true reflection of the city centre. So that's why we're proposing to extend that. Okay, few frequently asked questions. So just to reiterate, ballot papers will arrive on or slightly before May 26th of this year. You then have £10,000 to return your £10,000, goodness, that's rateable value. You have 6 weeks, to return your postal ballot paper. If you have more than one premise in Stirling city centre, you have more than one vote, and it's really important that you don't just return one of the postal votes, that you return, as many that you have, so every vote counts, of course. Civica Electoral Services are holding our vote on behalf of the council. Council are technically the ballot holder because, just the link to the Scottish Government to say, yes, a bid can go ahead. So one of the key questions we get is, why did the council bill us? That is simply, we pay Stirling Council to facilitate our billing because they're all set up for it, especially because it's linked to rateable values and whatnot. We pay them a fee every year to be able to facilitate our billing. So your bill isn't another Stirling Council bill, it's just simply facilitated by that department. Results announced no later than July 14th. However, we would very much like to announce the next day, July 8th. So that's just so that you know when these kind of things happen. And then on the right-hand side there, you'll see just a rough table of what that 1.25% rateable value actually means. So if you're a business of £10,000 in Stirling city centre, it's a weekly cost of less than a coffee at £2.40 and a daily cost of 34p. Effectively £125 per year is the contribution to bid. And with things like the shopfront grant, where you can get up to £5,000 to help, with your shopfront, we've done flood grants, e-commerce grants, etc. Our aim is to make sure that your levy cost is, it's cost neutral. Anything that we do for you, if you invest, £125, we try to make sure and evidence that we can very quickly give you 5 times that in support in that year. Okay, so this looks like one of these game shows with the X's. So what a no vote means. Really important that we reiterate this so that you realise the things that we currently fund in Stirling city centre that would disappear without a bid. So overall, over 1.5 million of bid levy would be invested in Stirling city centre over the next 5 years. Without a bid, that money isn't there to be invested at all. Additional funding and services that the bid leverages will also be lost. So in the last 2 years, for example, we've managed to get, apply for and obtain £250,000 of external funding. So where that £1.5 million figure is listed above in our actual levy income, that's very quickly 1.75, etc., from us simply trying to secure grants and external funding that is immediately invested in Stirling City Centre. So just to remind you all that we are not for profit. Every penny needs reinvested back in the city centre in that 5-year term. So there's over 330 bids in the UK now, and Stirling would lose ground. Clickman and Shire bid was successful in their renewal ballot. Falkirk 2, actually the only one that's been unsuccessful surrounding us is Crieff, which is a very, very small bid up there. So our position, we have a position now in the British Bids Advisory Board, which is alongside industry leaders, national bid voters, stakeholders, property developers. That would cease. We'd no longer have a seat at that table. And we think that 2022 is the first time we've had a seat at that table, if you like, on that board. And that will be really important for us to promote Stirling and link in with national developers, national businesses, encourage use of our vacant units and really work on a strategy, but also to influence and have Stirling's voice at these UK-wide conversations. So the shopfront improvement street scheme and e-commerce grant scheme would cease. Our investment in the UK City of Culture 2025 bid would also not proceed. Our annual investment of £50,000 in Christmas lighting would also cease. And things such as the pub watch scheme, the safe base scheme, the digital radio network, these things are, late night economy, hospitality focused, but they are fully funded by the bid currently. Business training, so we have now, the actual figure currently, 675 people have been certificated with a CPD certification through our bid platform of training courses. And those would no longer be available to the businesses. And the costs, of course, of training your staff on some of these really mandatory courses could be significantly more than that percentage of contribution that you make to a bids levy. So, and then just jumping on bid ambassadors, our websites, our social medias, our attraction on our social media and websites is huge now. The amount of hits that we are getting is in the thousands per month. And then on top of that, we fund the Stirling City Centre Wi-Fi and what will soon be footfall counters as well, and all that kind of thing as well. That is, these things are bid projects that we would no longer be funding. Okay, so moving on as quick as we can. So yeah, just to reiterate to you then, we have been doing all we can to consult with the 437 businesses that we have in that Stirling City Centre zone. So there are businesses that, still crop up and say, we don't speak to you much, but between the ambassadors on the streets, our weekly newsletters, we have one-on-one meetings. I personally linked in everybody national that might not actually physically be in the city centre, but might have a vested interest in the city centre, or press releases, social meetings like this. We're doing all we can to try and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to have their say in Go Forth Stirling. And we'll just keep working on that in the coming weeks, months, and hopefully years. So our consultation survey for this year, the current results that have come back in is that's 76% stated that they would vote yes to bid having another term. There's a wee bit more details on that coming up. So what our next steps are in the ballot process is that after this meeting, and we take back any feedback and review anything else additional that our businesses want us to work on or include in that proposal document and our business plan. After we fine-tune, tweak and make sure that we are responding to the needs of our businesses, we submit those proposals to the Scottish Government. We finalise our business plan and we continue engaging with the businesses. We continue delivering the projects that we have committed to for the remainder of this term up to the 31st of August. And we continue to promote Stirling and still attract external funding that we can use while we are in this current 5-year term. So, and then just to reiterate as well, so last year we received 107% of total income. So for every £1 of levy that any of the individuals, for example, on this call, contributed towards Go for Stirling, we invested £2.04. So, you know, overall additional income that we can invest in Stirling City Centre, that's really one of the number one priorities of a bid. You know, it's a mechanism for, you know, you may be able to give us £1, but we are going to do our best to make that £2, and because we're not for profit, that can only be to the benefit of the city centre. Okay, so a bit of feedback from our latest consultation survey. So they're just listed there. I won't read them all out to you, but this presentation will also be available after the meeting, because I'm obviously bombarding everyone with information. So 85% of people that have got back to us have stated that they are satisfied with our support during COVID-19, whether it be stickers, face shields, grant assistance, you name it. We were running around just going, you know, in the dark as much as the businesses were, you know, and signposting anything to assist the businesses that we could not personally help with. So hopefully 100% agree that we did do a good job, but yeah, so that's a strong figure for us that's come back there. 74% satisfied or very satisfied with the bids, value for money, and it just goes on. And 76% is our figure just now for saying that they will vote yes, and hopefully we'll be able to continue growing that. So some of the things that's come out that the businesses would like us to work on, our current members. So you'd like us to continue lobbying, you know, whether we're jumping up and down about, you know, retail park expansions, we're doing all we can in that sense of things. Information sharing, signposting, shopfront improvement grants. You'll have seen that we just opened the fund and managed to extend it to £50,000 for this year. And we've allocated that money now. And that was actually a joint project with the council as well from one of the investment funds there. You'd like us to, so going forward, this is what we've kind of summarised from all the feedback that we've had. You'd really like us to focus on improving parking situation for the businesses, cost and availability, provide footfall data to the businesses, so that you can accurately reflect upon and measure the success of events, or, you know, reflect on annually and targets and how we're sitting versus other cities across the country, and that's in our plans as well. Arranging more business events and networking opportunities. I would love to get more of these organised as soon as we can meet in person. Just this situation of virtual works well for a meeting like this, but we will hopefully, prior to ballot as well, have as many opportunities as possible for face-to-face meetings and networking opportunities for the businesses. And your priorities listed are signage, lighting, repairs, flood planning, footfall driving, events and activities. Events actually came very, very high. Everyone wants to see more events. And for those that were involved in the Brick Live event that we did in October school holidays, over 8,000 people, you know, downloaded a ticket for that event, and were from far and wide in Scotland. So we really want to deliver more events like that really attract footfall, especially in school holidays and things, for various, you know, for a variety of demographics, really put Stirling on the map. And parking is repeated. Vacant units projects, much like our street stories projects, but we want to work on a strategy and other things we can do with the vacant units to actually promote them to, you know, national businesses, developers, etc. Cleanliness and waste. Waste is, you know, a frequent conversation in the city centre. I'm sure you're all aware. Safety, training and wayfinding strategy. So just to clarify with you all, that's really what we've taken from the consultation process so far. And that is how we're building our business plan and our proposal for the next 5 years. So if there's anything that we've missed from that you think is a priority for the city centre and for the bid company going forward, then please send it our way. We don't want to miss out anything that is particularly important to you know, a volume of the businesses in the city centre. And then one respondent's comment that I've put along the bottom there that really stood out to us was, and really actually summarised what a bid is, was that there's not one single golden bullet to solve it all. It needs to be a combination of many things, from atmosphere, cleanliness, crime, events, general safety within the city centre, and we agree. So that's why this bid, there is a lot of bids that home in solely on, you know, they become a T bid, which is a tourism bid, or they become an industrial estate bid, or one just for landlords. Whereas, you know, we are trying to not home in and say we're just an events bid and we're only focusing on delivering events over the next 5 years. As that comment, you know, quite rightly states, is to improve this city centre. You know, there's not one thing that needs done. We need to just lift the standards and do what we can on a number of these key topics and priorities. So our new vision statement is there. I'll not read it out. Next up. So what we have done for 22 to 27, we've really split our objectives into 4 themes, headings and priorities, if you like. So our themes are, we propose, a supported city, a safe and secure city, a clean and green city, and a promoted city. So within them, there is a variety of projects that we currently work on that we'd like to continue, but also some new ones. A lot of the new ones as well are, you know, in that clean and green section. Right now, climate change, you know, businesses achieving net zero is very much a priority that maybe wasn't when previously the last 5 years were being planned. So we've got a lot of new projects that we are planning in that as well, that how do we help the businesses achieve net zero, for example? How do we audit these things for the city centre? And, you know, Stirling Council's introduced Internet of Things in Stirling City Centre. And I think there's a lot we can do with that as well to, you know, measure emissions, etc., and see how we can make an impact collectively. A lot of businesses, in terms of the net zero carbon emissions type thing, would go, I don't know where to start, but I'd like to do something with it. We really want to go and figure out a way that we can help with that and audit that and help you achieve those goals when it can seem like a bit of a minefield just now as well. And especially continuing to expand the shopfront grant scheme. We sincerely hope that we'll be able to provide larger funds, such as this year, the £50,000 fund for the shopfronts, and that will make a vast improvement on the city centre. And really give businesses a huge helping hand there to improve their business and shopfront. So that is everything that I wanted to really cover and present to everyone. Just really trying to condense there what our priorities are, what we have taken from this feedback and consultation period that we've had with everyone, and really open up to make sure that we're not missing anything before we really go and home in on these proposal and business plan documents, to make sure if there's something else that is important to the business community in Stirling City Centre, that we've got the opportunity right now to figure that out, and to make sure, of course, like at the start of the presentation, I'll just jump back on full screen, to make sure that everyone has enough understanding on what the aim, objective and vision is of Go Forth Stirling. Okay, just going to open the floor now. If anyone's got a question, you want to put up a hand or just take yourself off mute, feel free. Anyone want to go first? Board, have you got anything that you want to add from everything we've kind of covered tonight? Anything that I've missed, or even questions you may have yourself?
I just realised something I didn't mention. I don't think you did either, Danielle. Just the fact that we're working with so many other organisations. Whether that's the council have a seat on the board. Kier's a valued member of the board. Gary is the manager of the Thistles, so we've got the backing there as well. Working with the police, we've got Simon's just joined us from STEP as well. I've got to be careful. If I start listing, I'm going to miss somebody out and I'll upset somebody. But it's important that we're not just working in a wee bubble on our own. You know, we are talking to other folk. We're trying to work with other people. Sometimes it's sharing resources or sharing skills, or match funding is ideal. So just wanted to throw that in, just as I mentioned.
Thanks, David. Yeah, we're working with as many different important businesses and organisations in Stirling city centre as we possibly can. For example, just now, the Safe Base has been up and running for a few months now, and that has been invaluable with the return of late night hospitality in the Stirling city centre. We've now got Pub Watch fully up and running as well, and hopefully these things, in addition to the RACS membership and Sentry system for incident reporting, hopefully that these things do make a difference to making the city centre safer and giving confidence in the city centre as well.
I think I would just say the really important thing for me is the access to the external funding. So it's the way that the bid is set up. There's the council and other partners can't access the kind of funding that the bid can access. And they're doing that on behalf of the businesses in this improving the city centre area. So I think the figures you shared, Danielle, I think it was 204,000. That's over the 5-year period, but actually the majority of that, if not all of that's come in the past year and a half, I think, isn't it? So actually the figures in the past period are really very positive in terms of the external funding that's been brought in by the bid company, particularly you and Yitka doing that work. So I think a lot of that was laboured throughout the presentation, and I think it's important labouring again that would just disappear. That it's not a case of somebody else picking that up if the bid wasn't here. It's actually only the bid that can access the majority of that funding. So I think that's just a very important point.
Thank you, Keir. Anyone got anything else that they want to share? I won't keep you on the call for an extended period of time, but it's just really so that I just want to make sure that you've got the right opportunities. In terms of communications, is there anything else that anyone individually is missing or would like more or less of? We're just trying to find out, how best to, there's such a variety of businesses, sectors in Stirling city centre that are our members, and how we communicate with one doesn't work for the other, or, the representative that works in London, so they're, they don't want newsletters hitting their inbox or some, different things, or don't follow our social media. So we're trying to really make sure that we have as many different mechanisms as possible to be able to communicate with every business. Okay, well, I think we'll wrap up then if there's no questions or points or anything else. Happy with that?
Hi there. Can I just say I've just moved back to Stirling, having lived in the south of England for almost 8 years, and I did write to you, Danielle, and anyway, cut a very long story short, I'd like to introduce myself, John Pride. I Stirling man, worked in the events world, delivered 3 major food events for the city of Portsmouth, which were being quite successful, and of course they met their fate when COVID arrived. But I would be very keen to engage with anyone on this forum who would be interested in developing and potentially collaborating with some ideas that I've got. I work extensively with the seafood industry across the UK and also Scotland Food and Drink. It's always been my ambition to potentially develop some sort of major event in Stirling if an opportunity presented itself. So I'd be very keen to engaging with anyone on this forum who would be interested in having an exploratory chat.
I'll absolutely take you up on that, John. I'll be in touch with you later this week.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Pleasure is mine. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining as well and taking an interest. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Right, so I'll just wrap up there in terms of the levy payer proportion of the meeting, and then just ask the board to stay on, and we will continue our business. Thank you very much for attending, everybody. We'll be having more frequent, this is the only one where I'll just be bombarding with FAQs and this level of information, but all the information from tonight, we'll make sure that it is available online and in various different places. That Yitka's fantastic at sharing these kind of things, and I'm not the most technological. Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks all.